Hello and welcome to this presentation on the Comprehensive Financial Plan and Cost of Service Study. I'm going to cover an overview of the process and a project plan today. To provide an introduction to the financial strategy team, my name is Kim Baylor. I am the new financial strategist here at Clean Water Services. I recently came to the district with 14 years of experience consulting with public agencies on utility rates, fees, taxes, assessments, and other revenue mechanisms. For the past 11 years, my work has focused on financial planning, rate and fee analysis for public water and wastewater utilities throughout California. So I will be leading this effort for the district. Jennifer Ortiz, our financial analyst, will be working with me on this project. Jennifer has worked in local government in various capacities over the past 13 years, focusing on project coordination and financial analysis. She's been with Clean Water Services for over 2 years now. To provide an overview of the topics of this presentation today, I will be talking about the key components to the Comprehensive Financial Plan and Cost of Service study that will be starting for the district. I'll review some of the key objectives of the 2008 cost allocation study. We'll talk about changes since 2008 and looking ahead into the future. I'll provide an overview of the study and the process and really project plan that we will follow. I'll provide an overview of system development charges and then talk about our planned project timeline. There are 3 key components to any comprehensive financial plan and cost of service study. They're shown in this graphic here on this slide. The first component is the financial plan, and in this phase of the study, we will review the district's current financial plan and really look at the long-term forecast going forward. We will be reviewing and estimating all costs out into the future, including operating, maintenance, capital costs. We'll also look at debt service payments and reserve funds. The goal in this phase is to develop a long-term funding plan and rate adjustment strategy. The second component of this study is the cost of service analysis. This is where the revenue requirements are proportionately allocated to each customer class to determine the cost of providing service to each customer class. We will review and evaluate the services provided to local versus regional customers. We'll look at customer usage statistics and evaluate the demands placed on the sewer and surface water management systems. In the third component of the study, the rate design analysis, this is where we will focus on the rate structure and how to best collect rate revenue from each customer class. The impact on customer bills will be considered in this analysis, and rate design options will be presented to the Board of Directors for consideration. To provide some context, I'd like to describe what cost allocation is and why it is important. Cost allocation is the analytical process of apportioning costs to various cost components or activity centers. This process distributes costs to customer groups or customer classes based on service characteristics. And why is this important? The reason we go through this process to perform studies like this and allocate costs is to provide a basis for an equitable rate structure. This process really recognizes the differences in providing service to different customer groups. For example, the cost to provide service to residential, commercial, and industrial customers can be different. Also, we will consider the local versus regional services that are provided and how the costs vary between those groups of customers. As part of this process, we are reviewing the 2008 cost allocation study. The key objectives of that study were to evaluate all of Clean Water Services costs and how they are allocated to the sewer and surface water management utilities, and also how they were allocated to the regional and local services. Overhead costs were also allocated based on type of cost to the different customer groups. And then the key outcomes of that study were the current rate structure, which consists of a regional rate that reflects the costs for regional conveyance and treatment, the base local rate, which reflects the costs to provide service in the unincorporated Washington County areas and the small cities that we directly provide service to. The cities then adopted the Clean Water Services local rate and then surcharges based on city-specific needs. To provide some helpful definitions for terms you will see throughout this presentation, the first one is an equivalent dwelling unit, or an EDU. This is a unit of measurement for non-residential customers that indicates equivalency to one residential dwelling unit. EDUs are used in the sewer rate calculations and used to calculate monthly sewer bills for our customers. An equivalent service unit, or ESU, is another unit of measurement that's based on the impervious surface area of an average improved single dwelling lot or parcel, which is 2,640 square feet of impervious surface area. An impervious surface is one that doesn't allow water to pass through it, for example, concrete or asphalt. ESUs are used in surface water management rate calculations and to develop the monthly bills for our customers. When looking at changes that have occurred since 2008 and looking ahead into the future, Clean Water Services has grown and evolved, so now is a good time to take a comprehensive look at our financial plan, rates, and charges. Our customer base has grown by approximately 1% per year annually. The chart on this slide shows that back in 2008, the district was serving just over 261,000 EDUs for our sewer system, and we are just under 290,000 EDUs today. That's growth of almost 30,000 EDUs over that 12-year period. EDUs are reported in our comprehensive annual financial report, and the statistic is developed with 3 different data sources. We will revisit the process and true up the data in this study. We have also seen some organizational changes based on business needs. For example, our natural systems program has evolved from watershed to what it is today, and we also have a focus on research in order to plan for the future. It is also an industry best practice to update utility rate and fee programs periodically and during times of change, such as during major capital planning efforts, when a utility sees change in its customer base due to growth, adding large customers, or annexing new areas into its boundaries. So at this time, we are initiating a comprehensive review of our financial planning, cost allocation methods, rate schedules, and system development charges. Outcomes and recommendations from the study will be presented to the Board of Directors for consideration. In this section of the presentation, we will review the process and project plan for the study. So phase 1 is the preparation and planning stage. We are in this phase now and are currently working with the various departments and individuals at the district in developing and collecting data to get started on the study. We are reviewing the 2008 cost allocation study to evaluate how overhead is allocated to sewer versus surface water management and some of the other allocations that were made in that analysis. We will also review our user fees to evaluate cost recovery for development-related activities such as plan review and inspection, and we will look at our fees for septic hauling. We plan to reconvene the service delivery group, and this will be a collaborative process where we will work with the cities, the board of directors, and other groups throughout the process to gain input on the direction of the study. Phase 2 of this study is the financial plan. In this phase of the study, we will review the district's existing financial plan and build on that to develop long-term plans for the sewer and surface water utilities. Costs will be allocated to the 2 utilities to develop long-term funding plans and rate adjustment strategies that are specific to each. The following costs will be incorporated into the financial plan: operating and maintenance costs, capital rehabilitation, replacement, and improvement needs. We will also evaluate what capital projects can be funded with rates and system development charges. Debt service requirements will be incorporated into the plan and will ensure that the district can meet its debt coverage ratio requirements for its debt covenants. We will review the district's existing reserve policies and targets, the status of funding our reserves, and how they may be used for capital projects and operating investments in the future. The end product will be a long-term funding plan and rate adjustment strategy for each utility. Our goal is to maintain stable and predictable rates, as the district has had in the past. Phase 3 is the cost of service analysis, and this is where we will proportionately allocate the revenue requirements to customer classes by evaluating the cost allocation to functional components of utility service. For example, for the sewer system, we have conveyance, treatment, pumping, administrative, customer service costs. We'll look at the regional versus local services provided and determine the costs that are specific to each. We will also look at the number of EDUs and ESUs connected to our utility systems and overall the number of customers receiving service. We will also look at water usage and/or estimated or measured flow and strength of wastewater discharged. Phase 4 is the rate design analysis, and this is where the fixed and variable charges will be evaluated. The rate structure that we have now is a solid rate structure and has been working for the district. We have both fixed and volumetric components to our sewer rates, which are both key to a sound rate structure. We will evaluate potential alternatives in this study, and one option will likely be to maintain the existing rate structure and update it to reflect the revenue requirements determined in the financial planning phase of the study. Other alternatives will be considered and presented to the Board of Directors for consideration. This analysis will include rates for our sewer and surface water systems, and will also update the regional rate, the base local rates, and our rates for industrial customers. We will evaluate the impact on customer bills in terms of how any rate adjustment will impact their monthly bills for various types of customers and customers at different usage amounts. We will also evaluate the impact on overall revenue stability for the district, with the goal of maintaining stable and predictable rates as Clean Water Services had in the past. Phase 5 is the public outreach and engagement process. We are in the process of developing a well-thought-out plan for public engagement and outreach as part of this process, and will review the study outcomes with our Board of Directors, the cities, the Clean Water Services Advisory Commission, and other customer groups, such as community organizations, our industrial customers, and any others that may be identified throughout this process. We will conduct outreach and engagement throughout the study to gain input from our stakeholders along the way. We intend for this to be a collaborative process where we engage our stakeholders throughout the study. Phase 6 is the implementation process, and this is where we will coordinate with the cities to update their billing systems with new rates. We will work with Tualatin Valley Water District to update the utility billing system with new rates for unincorporated Washington County areas and the cities that Clean Water Services directly provide service to. We will then review the financial plan on an annual basis and update the rates and system development charges as needed. I will now talk about our system development charges. To provide an overview of system development charges, the purpose of our SDCs are to recover the costs of infrastructure that are needed to serve new development. These are connection fees or hookup fees that are paid by new development when they connect to our systems. The charges paid by new customers are based on the capacity requirements to service connecting customers, or based on the EDUs and ESUs for the sewer and surface water management systems. There are generally two fee components. The reimbursement fee is for an existing system buy-in and is intended to represent the cost of existing facilities that have capacity for new development. Improvement fees represent the cost of new facilities or capacity expansion needed to provide service to new development. There's also a combined approach to develop these fees, which is really a sum of the two different components, the reimbursement fee and the improvement fee. And many utilities take this approach in determining their system development charges, and we will look at all three potential components in this analysis. At this time, we will begin the planning phase of the system development charge study for both the sewer and surface water management utilities. We will follow a similar public outreach and engagement plan that we take for rates, where we involve our stakeholders along the way. Now I will talk about the planned project timeline. The graphic on this slide shows our planned project timeline. We are planning that the bulk of the work will be done over the next 6 to 9 months, and we will engage the cities throughout the process to gain their input. We will also bring outcomes and recommendations to the Board of Directors along the way, but don't expect that we will need involvement until later this year in the fourth quarter and in early 2022. We are currently in the planning and preparation stage now, and the first item we will address is the financial plan, which will feed into the other components of the study. We expect that in quarter 3, we will be able to begin the cost of service analysis. Then in quarter 4 of the current year and quarter 1 of next year, we expect to be working more on outreach and engagement and incorporating feedback from the Board of Directors and the other groups that we meet with. We will use the information from this study to inform the rate adjustment plans going forward. The key here is that we're doing long-term planning, which is really important to the district in preparing for the future. The plan for 2022 is to stay on the trajectory that Kathy Leder described in her earlier presentations. The target rate increase is 5% for both sewer and surface water for fiscal year 22-23. This concludes my presentation today. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking with you about this project as it evolves.